Hey everyone, I'm going to start. So first of all, thank you for watching. Again, let me start with a public service announcement, at least for us, service for us. The last video that we, well, not last because I don't know when this will come up, but one of the last videos that we uploaded, I had an appeal to everybody watching, a begging, if you will. I have no shame. Many of you know, if you've watched us for a long time, that when we receive the funds from money from YouTube, we match it, the company matches it, and we donate it to our charities, Salvation Army and the Daily Bread Food Bank. These two charities are very special to me. One, because with the Salvation Army, when I first came to Canada, I used to visit them every Saturday, my brother and I, and we would go and help out with the soup kitchen and so on. And then with Daily Bread, they do such a great job helping people who really need help. We know, all of us know somebody close to us who in the last few months have had to use the services of the Daily Bread Food Bank. And so I'm very grateful that as a company and as people, that as a group, we can all do what we do to help them. So I want your help. I want your help. All you have to do, you don't have to give us any money, press the subscribe button, just as you're watching us right now, just right there somewhere on the video display, just click on the subscribe button. My understanding is that the more subscribers that we have, potentially we get paid more. It doesn't cost you a dime, potentially will help us. And the people who don't like us, if you're watching us, if you really, really don't like us, specifically don't like me, definitely click that button because it means I'm poorer because I have to spend more money matching the funds. So please do us a favor and do that. All right, on to the topic today. First of all, welcome back, Mike. He has been quite sick for the last little while, had some surgery. He's back and hopefully back to normal, and I'm glad that he's able to join us. We're going to talk about two speakers, siblings, sibling rivalry. Sonus Faber, Maxima Amator versus the Olympica Nova III. We've had the Olympica Nova III ever since it came out, and it is a spectacularly good speaker. The Maxima Amator, we got it in again a couple of months ago, and we did the review of it. Somebody will link the video in the description. And both Louis and I absolutely loved it. And so, of course, we were thinking we got to do this review. And now that Mike is back, I said, let's do the review. So on paper, let me just very quickly mention, they're both very similar in price. The Amator is 16,000 US. The Nova 3 is about 15. And that's why we chose to compare the two. All right, who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right.
As usual, when we're finished, I will do my rap. Anyways, listen to many songs, and I just normally take 3 out of my listening pleasure to showcase what I like about the speakers. The first one I played, going back down memory lane. I'm an old guy, so I go back. And the first song I played was Sarah Vaughan, Broken Hearted.
Wait, before you go any further. Did Louis ever sit down with you and do his video? No? All right, for those of you watching, we collectively, Mike's idea, said that we're going to do a video of the songs that we like. I've already done 2. Mike, understandably, he's been sick, so he's excused, but he's up soon. Louis has no excuse. He always gives all these great songs that he loves, but he will not recommend. So sit him down sometime today and say, Louis, I want 3 songs. All right.
That's true, the cameras are set.
That's right. Go ahead.
Okay, so I played Sarah Vaughan, Broken Hearted Melody. She is by far one of the greatest female vocalists to me. I think only topped by the great scat singer, jazz singer. I won't call her name.
Mel Torme.
No, female.
Alison Krauss.
No. Though nothing new comes close to Sarah Vaughan. I must
Eartha
say.
Kitt. Got to be Eartha Kitt.
No.
People are turning off right now. What are these three
I think
old
you have to
farts
cut out
talking
these
about?
things. Curtis, you need to cut out some of this. Anyways, so, back home in Jamaica in the 70s, when we had DJs playing at parties or nightclubs, doesn't matter, at a certain time, they play what we call oldies. So songs dating back from either early 60s or late 50s. We call them classics. And
Wait a minute. Wait. Just so I understand. When you were listening to this music, it was already in the 60s.
yes, but I wasn't interested in these songs until I got
when
into
you're
my
saying-
later teenage days.
So when you're saying the classics or the oldies, you're talking about songs from when?
Songs from 50s and 60s.
That's like
and
10 years earlier. How's
well,
that?
well, no, but in the 70s, they became
considered
classic.
oldies already? Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
70s?
drifters, platters. They were not played in the regular hours of it came to the oldies section, which
I'm
they
giving him
dedicated
a
maybe
hard
an
time
hour and a
just because
half.
he hasn't done his video.
Anyways, so getting back, so these songs were played, and as a DJ myself, what we used to do is play at a lot of parties, a lot of Christmas parties, and we were employed by the owners of these businesses to play. So the owners were older people, so they would enjoy listening to these old music when they were in their time. So, we used to collect these songs, the LPs, not so many 45s, but LPs of these classic singers, Frank Sinatra, Johnny Mathis.
Mel Torme.
Eartha Kitt.
Oh boy, here we go, Mel Torme. Yeah, are you being tormented? But the clarity of her voice, the rolling of the notes, the background music, the backup music to her songs, to me are just so much better than what I hear today. Plus, I don't go for genres which now use computer-generated music. I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable to me. With this song, I started off with the Nova IIIs, and the clarity, the separation, it was just really good for the year these recordings were made. But when it comes to transparency, when you listen to it on the Maxima Amator, then you know you have something special. It just brings out the notes, the transparency of these songs, what we play on both systems. They're not far apart, but I give the nod to, at the end I will sing. My second song I played, male vocal, I switched to male vocal. I chose to listen to Josh Groban, You Raise Me Up. I have followed Josh for a long time, from when he just started as a young guy out. Such a beautiful voice, singing opera as well as pop music, and he goes between those different genres, but what a fantastic voice. His clarity, his tone to me, is one of the best out there today in his genre. To me, the Amateur came out on top with this one versus the Nova III. The sound stages are about the same, but because of the clarity of the Amateur, you kind of see more definition in the song, the instruments, the separation. You see it a little bit more. It's like when you hear this Josh Groban sing this, it's like in a small concert hall with him singing. It just sounds so real. It sounds, passionate. He's just one of my favorite singers today. The last song I played many songs, but the one I chose also to listen to was the group called Acoustic Alchemy. This song, Jamaican Heartbeat. The leader of the band is a guitarist, so of course he's going to feature himself more than the others in the band. And the drumming is fantastic. When the sax comes in, it all blends so well. And it has a Jamaican reggae beat. I wonder why I like it. I don't know. But the two speakers, though close, there's still one I prefer. So I'll pass it on to you, Mike, and I'll wrap it up at the end,
Okay. I just realized a few minutes ago that all of my tracks are from 1971. So 1971, good year for music. In fact, it might even be considered the best year for music. Yeah, that's right. I said it. So the first track is an album. It's Fella Live with Ginger Baker. It was recorded with his Africa 70 band, which I think is like 12 strong of a horn section, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's a really hot recording. It's very, very upfront. Interesting how these two speakers handled the music. Someone came in many, many months ago asking if we had the Maxima on display, and we didn't at the time. And he was describing it to me. He's like, "Oh, you got to hear the speaker." And as he was describing it, I'm like, "That's not really, doesn't sound like a speaker that I think I would enjoy." Right? Everyone likes different speakers, but for me, it wasn't something that I thought I would enjoy. But the first time we heard it when it was breaking in the front room, I was like, "This doesn't sound anything like I thought it was going to sound." It renders this music, which is very hot. Sometimes the horns can be quite sibilant. It renders it in a very pleasing way. It's got a nice way of rolling off harshness. So it imparted the sense of smoothness. It's kind of arbitrary to say smooth or buttery, but it's true. Compared to the Novas rendered it in a very neutral way. The mid-range on the Maximas was very pleasing, whereas on the Novas, I felt it was probably portraying it in a much more neutral, realistic way, where the horns can get a little hot, they can get a little sibilant. I'll say this: there's two drummers on this album. There's Ginger Baker and Tony Allen. They're not quiet, calm drummers. They're constantly going. I don't know if you guys know anything about Fela Kuti, but his songs are very hypnotic. The song that you hear for the most part in the first 10 seconds is the way the song is going to go. So they're quite hypnotic, and Ginger Baker and Tony Allen are just going full force the entire time. And on the Maximas, it was a little bit difficult to hear the separation in their two drums, and it came through very well on the Novas. The Novas, you could hear the separation, you could hear the tonal differences in the drums. The Novas as well seem to be a little bit more open in their sound stage. I think that had to do with the way that they portray the air. I think the air was a little bit more noticeable, and I'm going to come to my next track as well when I get back into that. Again, there's no clear winner. They both sounded great. On this particular track, there is no clear winner. I don't know. There's no clear winner. The second track I did is from the Who. Who's Next? Behind Blue Eyes. The song opens just with Pete Townshend's guitar. Pete Townshend's guitar is panned hard left, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm getting it right. And there's bleed on one of the other microphones in the studio at the time, and you can hear it on the right speaker. And on the Maximas, the clarity of that reverb trail was very much muted compared to how the Novas portrayed it. The Novas portrayed that sense of spaciousness. And again, I think it's just how they portray the sense of air. As well, when the song gets quite heavy, because it starts off just with guitar, bass, and vocals for most of it. When the song gets heavy at the end, when the drums come in and the electric guitar comes in, there's this very short machine gun roll that Keith Moon does. And on a lot of systems, it's buried in the mix. It can be quite muddy on a lot of speakers. Sometimes you can't hear it at all. You can't even differentiate the different drum hits. The Nova, perfect, flawless. It was there. You could hear it clear as day. Again, the Maxima was a little bit more muted in its presentation. You could hear it, but it wasn't as articulate as the Novas. The last track is Fragile by Yes. The last album is Fragile by Yes. Roundabout is a song. Again, these are well-known songs. Great recording. Always fond of this recording. Very tight bass section, very tight drums. It's a big song. The Novas, again, portrayed a sense of air that gave the soundstage something realistic. There was something about I felt I was in the room with them as they were recording. The Novas, it was slightly muted. Again, these are very subtle differences.
You're talking about the Amateur.
The Amateurs, yeah. These are very subtle differences between the two. And here's the thing. As good as the Nova was on all three of these tracks, the Maxima presented them in a way that I enjoyed more. Even though I know it was not as real, I know that it did not portray things exactly as they were, and it didn't matter. As I was listening to them, I felt more engaged with the Maximas, which I didn't think, because I love the Novas. The Novas are fantastic speakers. They really are very good speakers.
That's a really good wrap-up, yeah. I was debating not to talk about it just because you guys are doing such a great job, and I didn't want the video to go too long, and we started late today, but here are very quick synopsis. Overall, I agree with the guys entirely. So for those of you who don't know, we never share our notes before the camera starts. So I had no idea whether or not what they were going to say, because they're two extremely good, competent speakers. For me, it boils down to this. The Novas are ultimately more accurate. You will hear more, and that's, I guess, by definition, more accurate. They just sound tonally more accurate as well for the different instruments and so on, whereas the Amators are more forgiving, more romantic. One appeals slightly more to the heart, to the brain, and the other one appeals a bit more to the heart. And it really depends. Now, there are certain things. If you play a lot of loud volume with a lot of bass content simultaneously, you may prefer the Nova. In fact, you might want to go to the Nova just because I've yet to bottom out the woofers and the Novas. They'll take a lot of punishment. I'm not saying they won't bottom out at some point, but I have yet to do so. With the Maximas, I can bottom them out because it's a simple two-way with a small woofer, whereas with the Novas, you've got two woofers, separate mid-range and a tweeter, so it's a three-way. So it can handle more torture. And in fact, in terms of deep propulsive bass, the Nova is better. Also, if you are thinking about combining the speakers as part of your home theater setup, the Nova is probably a better choice. Again, because it can handle the dynamics better, it can handle the torture better, it can handle explosions better, you don't have to worry so much about damaging the speakers. The Maximas are probably not the best choice for that. Also, in home theater applications, the Nova has matching center channel. The Maxima does not have a matching center channel in terms of aesthetics. And so that's where I would see the Nova being a better choice. But as both of them suggested, the Amator is more compelling to listen to, more interesting, it tugs more at my heart. I'll give you one musical example. Marianne Faithfull, As Tears Go By. It's a song that was written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards back in 1965. So it's funny because this was really the first song they had written. Before that, they were doing covers and so on, and their producer said, nope, got to go in and write your own songs because you want to get paid for your own songs. And so this was literally the first song they ever wrote together. And they hated it. They thought it was mushy. In fact, here's the exact quote. Terrible piece of tripe. That's what they called it.
That's definitely British.
That's what they called it. And it's basically a song ostensibly from a mature person looking back at his life. You know, it's the evening of the day. I sit and watch the children play, you know. It's retrospective. And these guys wrote the song when they were in their early 20s, so it's kind of weird that way. Now, Marianne Faithfull also came to prominence right around the same time in the 60s, and turned out that she became a lover girlfriend for Mick Jagger as well. She covered the song when she was 17. And then, of course, during the heyday, she drank, she smoked, she partied, and then she got laryngitis, and then her voice completely changed. She redid this song when she was 72 years old. And so when you listen to this song with her new album, she sounds completely different. She has this whiskey voice. It's almost like the female equivalent of Mick Jagger, of Rod Stewart. But it has such meaning and gravitas now when she sings it as opposed to when she was 17. And it's a lovely recording, full of meaning, full of beauty. And when I listen to that through the Maxima Amators, it just grabs my heart. With the Novas, I love it. But with the Maximas, there's just a little bit extra. Finally, for those of you who hate cars, who always hate my analogies, I'm going to give it to you anyway, just because I was thinking how to describe this. The Novas are like my 996 Porsche C4S convertible. I had the most amazing time. I kept that car for about 4 or 5 years. During the summer, the top was down every day. I drove it every day. It was insane. In the winters, I slept on some winter tires, and away I would go. And I drove it everywhere. It didn't matter how much snow was on the ground. I would just drive it everywhere. Had a tremendous amount of time. Reliable, fun, small enough that I could nimbly drive it anywhere downtown. There's no problems whatsoever. The Amators are like the Dino 246. This car pulled at my heartstrings more, in that it was a special car. I would take it out when it was an occasion, when I felt like it, when I wanted to explore driving for the fun of driving. It was a beautiful day, I would drive it. You could hear the gear chains. The car had no power whatsoever, no torque whatsoever. I mean, it was funny because you'd sit at a red light, and then when it turns green, women in minivans would just, and then you go, right? And that's what would happen. But it looked so cool doing 0 to 60 in 12 seconds. It didn't matter, right? Everybody, every time I drove the car, I would have kids, with their cell phones leaning out trying to take pictures. It was such an occasion. That's what the Amator reminds me of when I think of the cars. It is a very special speaker, and I love it to death. Now, having said that, I would have no difficulty taking the Novas anytime, especially given that I listen to such a wide range of music, and from time to time I really like to crank. And that's how I knew that the Amators would bottom out. But with that caveat, I love the Amators more. Yeah. So Louis, your final conclusion.
Okay, so my wrap-up would be to choose whether I had to choose between the Nova 3s or the Maxima Amators. It would be choosing both, but for different reasons. So for the Nova 3s, I like the transparency, the clarity, what it brings, and it brings out a lot to me more in the music. It could be a little bit boosted on treble, but it's not sibilant. I found in my recordings, which I chose different ones. On the Nova 3s, definitely, if you're a person who likes more bass, and also a revealing speaker, I could choose that one as well. It's a big toss-up, but in the long run, I would choose the Amator over the Nova 3s for my liking. It's just a romantic sounding speaker, and the clarity what it brings to the table, I prefer it that way. But it's not a night and day difference between both. So that's my take.
All right, so I guess that's it. We're wrapping up. Overall, we love JBLs more so than the Sonus Fabers. Don't buy Sonus Fabers. Buy JBLs. Thanks for watching. Again, please do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, even if you don't, press that subscribe button, share this video, and we'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.